Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Visual Studio Toolbox. I'm your host, Leslie Richardson, and I am joined by a man who's probably needs no introduction at this point on this channel, but hi Mads Kristensen, how you doing?
Hello, Leslie. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here yet again. If you're new to this channel, Mads is a regular on the show. He's a member of the Visual Studio team, and he's an expert in all things Visual Studio extensions. He's written a few, and by a few we mean 10 for this video at least. He's written a lot more than that. So
No,
yeah, today we're gonna be talking all
200,
about extensions.
over 200 now.
200?
Yeah.
Dang,
Someone
that
was
is
asking me the
insane.
other day and I had to go look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. When you've reached the point where you lost count and you now have to count and then you reach 200, that must be
Yeah.
crazy. Sweet. So yeah, you've made 10 more. So tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about that. What was going on?
So some people ask me like if they want to build extensions themselves. They ask like how do you get inspired? What are good ideas to build into extensions? And what I do is that I look at what our users are asking us for, what type of features, what kind of issues do they have? And that's my inspiration. So I actually go look at, Twitter and Reddit and all those things, but also like we have our feedback mechanism, developer community, right? So if you go to help send feedback, you can go and browse all those feature requests in there. And so I do that. And I have 10 extensions this time that all solve things that users have requested. And some of them have like a lot of votes. So some of them are like top requests, some of them a little less, but I personally would like to use like I use all of them. Like they're also for me, right? I use them myself. So they're not just throwaway. They're actually some that I've been working on and keep fixing bugs on and stuff when, or tweaking the features. Because people do report issues or send me feature requests for these extensions. And so, I can keep all that running and we iterate together with the community. So they're in a really good shape and they're ready for prime time. All these 10 that I'm going to show you today. So kind of excited. This for some of these, this is the first show off. So this is cool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Yeah, and I think that's great advice in general too, especially if you're learning something new. Like if you're trying to come up with ideas, do something that
Mhm.
would help you out personally. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm learning about agents and the agent framework and stuff right now, and like I'm working on an agent that is designed to come up with demo ideas for my future presentations. So it's kind of
Yeah.
meta, but helps me personally with what
Yeah.
I do when I go to conferences and
I
things. So
mean, as soon as you have skin in the game, you're gonna look at the problem from a much different perspective, right? You really want to get the details right. You want to get the user experience as good as you possibly can because
Mhm.
you're also going to be the user, so you know what's going to be annoying and all that, and you're not going to cut corners, right? It becomes something bigger and more important to you. So I feel like you always have to have skin in the game to create, or for me at least, to be on my top game to create the best features.
I agree. You're more invested that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Should we take a look at these new extensions of yours?
Let's do it. This is my screen. I have a project here, just a regular class library, but oh, wait, Leslie, can you see anything here? Is it too small?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty small.
It's pretty small. Okay, so this leads me to the first extension here. And I've been kind of dancing around this problem for a while of like, hey, I'm gonna present something. How can I make things more visual, larger so that people can see better? And so I think I finally figured out how to do it properly. So this is an extension called modes. So it'll put Visual Studio into different modes. So if you go to tools, modes, I have different things to choose from. I have a low power mode, focus mode, performance mode, and presenter mode. Let me hit the presenter mode. So now
Uh,
everything is bigger. It's easier to see, right?
it's beautiful.
Yes. And but it has all these different modes. And actually what it does
Mhm.
is that it changes a bunch of settings. And then when I disable the mode I'm in, it goes back to the previous settings. So it just rolls back those settings that I had from before. So really, I guess, simple toggle back and forth. So nice and big fonts. And if I look here at most low power mode, you can set it up to automatically switch to low power mode when you're on battery or when Windows switches into low power mode. It will automatically
Oh,
turn this on. So that just disables a bunch of background stuff. Like it toggles a bunch of settings that runs background tasks, for instance.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What about
Focus
focus
mode.
mode?
I call it focus mode here, but
Hmm?
that it's the same thing, right? Turn off a bunch of stuff, get rid of some of the tool windows, turn off some of the tool tips and all the stuff that kind of is extra, so that it's just like absolute power mode, no distractions, right?
I feel like we could also call this episode extensions that Leslie will be downloading after this video, because this one, I don't know, maybe I was the feedback ticket and suggestions on the DevCom, but like I've been asking for something like this for years, where you do have
Yeah.
the ability to save certain windows and things, but I was like, it'd be so great if there were different, essentially modes
Yeah.
that you could toggle between, similar to, like, I'm a Photoshop girly, so Photoshop has something similar where you can filter between photography related features and graphic design related features and things like that in a focus mode. So
Yeah.
it's cool that that exists for VS now through your
We have it
extension,
here.
and I will be,
And
I will be
if
using this.
users, they can think of, hey, are there other modes we need to add? Let's do it. Here's a little kind of a cool thing. You can restore backup settings. So it will automatically take backups of your settings.
Ooh.
So sometimes you end up in a situation where you've changed some settings and you don't know where or why or how. And so this will automatically just have your historic settings. You can always just go back, say, oh, restore this from like Wednesday, and just click the restore and it's back. So
That's cool.
it's kind of nice. Yeah.
That's good. I did, since I think you could relate. We do a bunch of productivity talks when we go to conferences, and I don't know about you, but I'm personally setting so many different settings during that
Mhm.
talk just to like discuss cool features, and then having to reset them or remember what I had in my day to
Yeah.
day can be a little hard. So
Right.
that's good. Is that separate from the modes extension? Was that extension number 2?
No, that's the
Okay,
modes.
that's part.
Modes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Right.
Can you
It's
have multiple modes on at the same time? Like, let's say you wanted presenter mode, but then you also wanted,
also want
like,
focus mode.
focus? Mhm.
No, you choose one or the other.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so it's kind of cool the way it does it. It rolls settings back and forth and kind of cleans up after itself. The issue is if you have multiple at the same time and then you back some settings out, there could be overlapping settings, right?
Yeah.
Where the same setting is either true or false, and so which one of them wins, and it's so this is how I do it now. But let's move on to the next one. We got a lot to go through, so I want to show you something called Comment Studio. So this is basically a take on how do we deal with code comments in general, like all the different things we do with code comments. We read them, we write them, and so one of the things we do, of course, in C# and other languages is these XML doc comments. But they can get pretty big and like take up a lot of
Mhm.
space. So this is a whole screen just full of comments, and I just have 3 properties, right? But all I see is these comments pretty much.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so it would be nice if I could just collapse all comments like that. Boop. Control MC or
Ooh.
Control MC for opening the comments back up. So the XML doc comments in particular. And if I go down to Comment Studio, right click here and say collapse XML doc comments by default, then if I open a new C# file, it will automatically have all these comments collapsed, right? So I can
Sick.
kind of get them out of the way.
That's really good.
But now I'm losing sort of the readability. Like, what do these even say? Like, the reason that they're there is to make this more readable, and that I didn't really achieve that, I don't think. But for a
Mhm.
lot of people, this is enough, right? This is pretty great. But what if I can go in? I'm going to right click again, go down to Comment Studio, and put rendering in compact mode. Check that out.
Ooh. What?
So now XML.comments becomes this kind of grayed out line that makes it that kind of sinks in the background a little bit so that more focus is on the code.
Mhm.
And if you want to change anything, you see it even renders like links and stuff. This is not something that's normal in supported in XML.comments, but it is with this. And I can always just double click on anyone and it goes back to kind of the raw source mode and I can make any changes I want. It supports Markdown, basic Markdown. So it makes it bold and a link. Kind of neat, right?
That
I
is
can also
really
just
neat.
hit the escape key. And there's a setting for saying, hey, even if my caret is just on the line, it goes to source mode. So you can enable that too. I think that's what a writer does. Some people would want that. Other than that, you can just go in and double click or hit escape and it goes into this source mode. And as soon as the caret leaves, it goes back to the rendered mode.
That's neat.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, right? And then if I go down and put it in full mode, then check this out. Then you get way more to look at here. It renders all of it out. That's kind of if you want to read more, if you're like in a reading mode, I always just keep it in compact mode. It's really nice. It's way smaller. It gets out of the way. And I just enjoy looking at this. But if I were to write one, so I'm just typing away. It's like,
Beautiful.
look at what happened. It automatically went to the new line, right? So if I keep typing, yeah, it might not be the most beautiful you've ever seen in your life, but I just keep typing and see it automatically wraps to the new line. So that's kind of neat.
Very nice.
So I can do a bunch of stuff here. Here's another one. What about all these hack and to-do comments? So now they get colorized. So we use these all the time, but Visual Studio doesn't really do much with them unless they're open.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you can use the what window is it? The task window, where if you have certain
the open files.
That's true. Yeah.
So now we got a code anchors window.
Oh my gosh.
And it shows all of them in your entire project, and it's caching them between. So it'll find them first, and then it's caching it. And so this is always everything you got. You can go in here, you can change everything. You can filter to specific things. You can even export this as a CSV file or markdown table or something. So you can really use all this. You can add custom ones too. This is just nice and handy. It's like, I feel like this fixes the task list that we got in Visual Studio that never really worked properly, at least not for me.
Yeah, it wasn't always consistent.
Yeah, it wasn't always consistent. And it's also like, if it doesn't work on the entire solution or repo, then what's the point really?
Totally. That is awesome. I will definitely be using this one because I use the task list a lot, even if it wasn't consistent. So it's nice that this one is consistent and it has more features on top of that. So
you can add links. Check this out. So we can link directly to a file. Boom. And it takes you into that line of the file. See that? So just control click, just like any hyperlink.
What, do you just give it the relative path in order to get that link or whatever?
Yeah. Relative path or absolute or whatever. Yep, exactly. Let's look at another one that's kind of neat. What if you want to make something more important, or or maybe you make this, you have different modes for these. You can colorize your comments in a way that they stick out a little bit, and you can do this. There's a certain syntax for this. So this is something that other extensions are doing today as well. I'm just kind of taking all this together, all the things that people have been asking for, into one extension here called Comment Studio. So anyway, this does all these things for comments. It's a pretty comprehensive. There's a whole lot more. It's one of the bigger extensions that I've done in a long time. So it has a lot of features, very feature rich, but it's very performant. It doesn't slow down your typing or anything like that. So definitely go check that out.
Love that.
All right, Leslie.
Yeah.
Let's create a new file. How do you create a new file in Visual Studio?
Well, usually I like to right click in the Solution Explorer and then do add. Then go through the file.
But if you're not going to add it to a project, then what? How do you...
that's where it gets annoying. But I guess you go into file. But
yeah, exactly. File, new file, like Control N to create a new file, and you get like this template selector dialog up. You select like TXT, like text file or whatever it might be.
Totally.
It's kind of annoying. So I have an extension here called Scratch Files. So now if I hit Control N, it just creates me a new file.
Ooh. Boom. What's a Scratch file?
Yeah, it has a Scratch file. I can change it. Let's do JSON. So now it's JSON, and it, you see here, it changes everything.
Sick.
Yeah. So now we're running a JSON file all of a sudden. So that's kind of nice, right?
Very nice.
Oh, I will just say, and if you have a Scratch file open, you don't have to save it. It's kind of just there. When you close Visual Studio and open it again, they are still open. They're right here. So if you just want like something you just want to scratch in, and have available next time, like if you write SQL files, for instance, it's very typical. People write SQL files against like a database, select queries or whatnot, and they use that again and again, day after day, to see what's new or whatnot, right? While they work on a certain thing. And so, but they don't need to save that. It's just something they use kind of temporary, but for several days. You can now just use Scratch files. So one nice thing is that you can also like say, I want to have a file, I want to drop down some notes to this particular file. I have like a C# file open here. Instead of hitting Control N, I can hit Control Alt N, and then it creates a new Scratch file, but it puts it right next to it. Right?
Whoa.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, and that's if you have an active file open and you do Control N?
Yep. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, if you don't have any file open, it just opens it like Control N just did. But you can move it
Nice.
to solution. So now it lives in under your app settings somewhere in your temp directory. So it exists on disk. But you can move it into the solution. So now it will live in your .vs folder. So you can have, so there's a concept of solution files and global files. And you can see there's even a little tool window you can use with it here. And so you can create
That's
folders in
nice.
here, drag and drop between solution and global into folders. And
That's cool. I mean, because I'm thinking about when, again, I'm putting together talks, sometimes I'll like open up Notepad or something and like leave in some notes or like a code snippet or something that I want to add and post later. And it's kind of annoying having a separate window open. So it's like, I could
Yep.
presumably just do that in one of these.
And these files just exist, right? You can always save them, like
it just exists.
because this takes over the Control N. So you might still want to save the file, as at some point somewhere else in a different file extension or whatever. And you can always do that. So then it behaves the same way as Control N has always done, right? So you get kind of best of both worlds.
Neat.
Yeah. So that was Scratch files. Now let's say here I have a file. I want to, if you're interested in like, hey, where are the tabs and where are the spaces in this file? Normally what you would do is that you would go to edit and you would say show view whitespace, Control RW, and it shows up like this.
Yep.
Check this out. I have here a Whitespace Visualizer. It adds the line ending to that, CRLF. See that? For each of the line endings. The built-in one does not. So now you have it right here. It finally shows up. We finally get that, so we can see if our line endings are, matching up. And especially when you're dealing with like Git and stuff, source control and teamwork and whatnot, where you had different people working on it, and some are on Linux, some are on Windows, where there are different defaults to how line endings are. Right? It's kind of nice to see it right here. So RW, but this one has a trick up its sleeve. Every time you make a selection, it shows it in the selection.
That's cool.
So you don't have to like turn it on every time and then turn it off. You just want to just look at that and say, oh yeah, I see here there are some, why am I using tabs on that line instead of spaces, for instance? So
really good.
Whitespace Visualizer. That's what that's called. Not to be mistaken from trailing Whitespace Visualizer, which is different. Just called Whitespace Visualizer.
Yeah, again, just saving some extra trips to the settings menu.
Yes.
That was nice.
Just basically giving you the information kind of at the time you need it. Like it offers it up front without being annoying or too much. I feel like this here strikes a nice balance for that. Leslie, you might have been looking at the Solution Explorer and thought, what is this favorites thing that's right there?
Yeah.
Right? This
that
guy here.
New.
So there's a node next to, right under the solution called favorites. So it is just that. I can right click any file and say add to favorites, and boom, it's being added to favorites. I can even like add folders. Let's just call it new folder, right? I can move things around. So now I have, see here, so I can have multiple favorite things because, you might have a huge solution with multiple projects to be able to pin some of your most common files up top. Right. Or you can even group things like, or if you work on a React component, you always want the HTML and the CSS and the JavaScript files to be together, for instance. Well, you can like have them now that way up here, or group other things together, like maybe your API controller and your model, and then your JavaScript and all that lives in different folders. One is back end, one is front end, and you can now group them and you can pin them up top, the files you use the most often.
That's interesting. So what happens if you try to F5 this and you stuck, I don't know, like your food.cs file in a separate folder under favorites? How does VS know where to get the file from? Is it just like ignoring the favorites folder in that moment?
There is no favorite folder. It's virtual. So it's a JSON file that describes it. It's in the repo. You can ignore it. It just lives in the like a favorites.json. That's where it stores. If it can't find the file because you've deleted it, let's say, so it's now pointing to a place that doesn't exist, it just won't show it. It's as simple as that. Pin your favorite files to the top. Very easy. And that could be like files that are not part of your solution. So this EditorConfig, who usually lives in the solution root or in the repo root actually, and it might look something like this. Leslie, we have a UI for dealing with EditorConfig files, but it's been deprecated. It's still there. I think it's going to be removed soon. But years ago, I wrote this EditorConfig language service extension that gives you colorization, as you can see here. It gives you IntelliSense. See, all the .NET stuff is here, right?
Much needed.
Yeah,
At least if you're not going through like the main like UI interface.
And it's really nice. This even gives you links to documentation for each of these things. It gives you like examples of what it looks like. And it's a very rich editor for EditorConfig. It does all sorts of validation. For instance, here, this one says, hey, for this particular project, I'm calling out these different things. But if we look in the error list here, it says, hey, this globbing pattern doesn't match any files. So it's even able to look through my folder and say, hey, you have a rule here that doesn't apply anymore. You can delete it. So, it's pretty smart. This is probably the best solution going forward for people who use EditorConfig. And what's really cool is that it's also extendable. So I'm going to show you something a little bit later, but for instance, you can have things like this is some Markdown specific things. Visual Studio doesn't ship with anything analytics or analyzer rules or anything from Markdown. This is provided by a different extension that I'm going to show you in a bit. Even this here, the comment studio we just saw, it actually provides a few of these things or properties from my EditorConfig. So this is like one extension extending another extension, right?
Right.
It's kind of cool.
That's cool.
And any extension can do that. Anyone that has that wants to store things in your EditorConfig can very, very easily, without taking any dependencies whatsoever on the EditorConfig extension I'm showing here, provide this. So if that extension is installed, the EditorConfig is installed, they will get automatic validation and IntelliSense and all that type of stuff. So very cool stuff.
Sweet. I assume it's easy to set whatever setting or needs to be made on the other extension so that it appears.
The other extension, nothing happens. Oh, if you have an extension that you want to opt into showing IntelliSense. Oh yeah.
Because I know you mentioned there's like no real dependency, but
right. There is no dependencies, funny enough. It's done without it completely. So that is documented. If you go to EditorConfig language service, it's right there in the README how to do it. It's very simple. The next one I want to show you has to do with this here. We were talking about this, the Markdown stuff, right? I got MD and a bunch of Markdown rules here. And that's because we now have Markdown Lint. So here's a Markdown file, and I got some errors showing up here. There we go. That violates kind of best practices when it comes to Markdown. I could go in and fix these. There's like code fixes for everything. So if I just Control Dot or Alt Enter to see the code fixes, you can see here I can just wrap that URL in angle brackets, and that fixes that issue. Or I can fix all of them in this document, or I can fix everything that it's able to automatically fix in the document. That's kind of nice too.
Yeah.
Here's a cool thing. If I just hit Format Document, Control KD, it formats everything. Notice what happened here to the column. That's the Markdown editor that did that. But it asks me, hey, do you want to automatically run all the code fixes when you hit Format Document? It's like, yeah, I do want that. Boom. And it's all fixed. Everything just got fixed for me and it didn't break anything. Isn't that cool?
That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah.
My gosh. Like I would have loved this because like a month ago I had to write this pretty long documentation thing for MS Learn on MCP stuff, and it was very long and had lots of branching paths depending on the IDE you're using, and like there's so many errors. Gosh, yeah, it's so nice.
It's really nice to have that little shortcut to just take away all the errors, make everything looks the same way, the same standards. Right? And there's a bunch of defaults, but again, in the EditorConfig, you can set the default for your team, for instance, and then those defaults now roam with the repo, right? So it always does the same thing in the right way.
I love it. That's just Markdown Lint. Is that what this one's called? Markdown
Lint. So there is one for VS Code. It's based on the one from VS Code, and this one has few extra things. It's a little bit richer than the VS Code one, and it has the EditorConfig support, which the VS Code one has like a Markdown Lint.json file. But like we already have EditorConfig, so why invent yet another file, right?
Totally. All this to say, people watching, if you're not using EditorConfig files, like you should use them. They're cool. Yeah, they don't get enough love, I don't think.
Agreed. Let's play around with This is a CSV file.
Very pretty to look at.
It's 10,000 lines.
Wow.
Yeah, look how nice you get colorization now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something I want to. It's called CSV Editor. I want to show it because it turns out that actually quite a few people deal with CSV files in Visual Studio, and they're just like this wall of text. So now, when I open one, I get this nice colorization. So that's kind of neat. But I can right click and I can say align all the columns. Boom.
Oh,
You would
wow.
expect something like this would be super slow,
Yeah.
but it's not. This is just it's the editor. Let's get the alternate row colors, make it even easier
Whoa.
for you.
You don't even need to
So
go to Excel anymore.
isn't that amazing?
That's awesome.
And I can type and it's not slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so this is 10,000. I have a file with 100,000 lines in it. Same thing. It does not slow down anything because it actually only affects what you can see, what's in the viewport. And so all this alignment only happens when it needs to happen and not for the entire file. So it doesn't matter how big the file is. Visual Studio doesn't even break a sweat doing this. So
that is very impressive. Like, did you have any challenge with that? I'm curious, like when you were writing this particular extension, were there perf concerns as you were doing this?
Yeah, it was, oh yeah, what about memory? What about like just performance in general? But it's, I mean, all of that is, I put the profiler agent on it multiple times just to weed out anything and optimize everything. It's pretty cool. I can even, like, if I mouse over the first line, I can even sort a line.
Wow.
So that was 10,000 lines just sorted like it was nothing, right?
Yeah, so quick.
Yeah, it was so quick. And then when you think about, like, it also maintains the, the row highlights and the alignment of the columns and everything. And it's just best. So
yeah, I assume bubble sort was not being used there.
So yeah, if you can copy it as Markdown table, that can be kind of handy, right? You can copy it and say, hey, copy as Markdown table. So it's got some extra features. But yeah, if you're using CSV today, get the CSV Editor extension. You're not going to regret that.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so Visual Studio might have just become the best editor for CSV file. And
yeah,
CSV
who knew?
file, by the way.
You don't need to open up your Excel on an opposite monitor anymore, so you can.
It supports comma separated, semicolon separated, pipe separation, and a TSV file, tab separation. So it's
okay, cool. Because I'm thinking also in debugging land, there's the IEnumerable visualizer where you can export that data to a CSV if you want, and now you don't have to take that CSV to Excel anymore. Even you can just open it there you go and inspect some more in VS. That's cool.
I got 2 more to go. Let's start in Azure Explorer. We used to have a thing called Cloud Explorer, Leslie. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. RIP.
Yeah, we deprecated it in 2019, but people have been asking for it ever since. They want the ability to do certain things within Visual Studio that affects their Azure resources. And so we put a lot of energy, the Azure team, on making this for VS Code. But I thought, hey, let's just get that into Visual Studio as well. It's called Azure Explorer, and it shows me all the different things I've got. And I can go and I can browse all my app services. I can see what's going on. I can load the files of my, it takes a little bit, has to connect to the Kudu service for this, but I can see the files that are making up my websites. I can browse them. I can even delete them. I can upload new ones. So this is kind of neat, right?
Right.
I can download publish profile. I can restart any of these apps right here. Any of these app services, restart them right from here. I can start the streaming logs. So if I want to see the HTTP traffic coming in from a live site, I can just, let's see here. Do I have any that has any real data on it? I can just execute. It takes like a few minutes for the service to start it up. The whole idea is that I can access all this from right here. I can come in, I can see storage accounts, I can create new ones. Create storage account, not on this particular instance, but it basically gives me all my function apps, app service, storage accounts, key vaults. And so now I have all this here at my fingertips. I can tag things, I can search for things. It's the old Cloud Explorer. It's back.
That's great. I don't remember the activity log being there in Cloud Explorer, but it looks,
that's new.
Yeah, pretty equivalent to the old experience. So yeah, for people who want this.
Yep.
Yeah, this is great. I'm like, why did we even get rid of it in the first place, Cloud Explorer? I vaguely recall that being an
I
upsetting
don't
thing for
know
some to
the
do.
story about why we got rid of it or why we deprecated it, but it's something people have been wanting for a long time to get back. So,
Yeah,
um,
because I mean, looking at it again, I'm like, wait, why? It seems useful.
yeah,
Like
right.
you have a
Yeah.
lot of resources and stuff. I mean, personally, I find Azure a pain to keep up with in general. So any way to make it easier or centralize the information is good for me. So yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. Yep. Absolutely. So, yeah, check out Azure Explorer. Last one. Sometimes it can be lonely in Visual Studio. You're sitting there coding all day. So
Yeah.
wouldn't it be nice if we had some pets?
Oh my God, we're getting the pets. Please, yes. It's
So
about
VS
time.
Code has had this in a little window for a long time. And I thought it's almost sad that
Oh
they're
my
like
God.
confined to this little space.
Yeah. Can they go
So
across the entire screen?
yeah, they walk across the entire screen on the status bar.
Oh
And
my God.
if you build, they will celebrate. And if the build fails, they'll be sad. So so you
I
can
love
right
it so
click.
much.
You can move a pet if you want, right?
Yes.
You can
Uh-huh.
click it. Yeah.
Oh
It'll
my God.
chase a ball. Yeah.
Can you choose different pets? You're using a cat right now, but I'm a
Yeah,
dog
yeah. You
person.
can add more pets. So we can say, hey, I
Oh,
want a
you can axolotl.
maybe you want a pink axolotl, right?
Yes, yes, I do.
Yeah. So it's gonna come in from the south. It's
Oh,
coming over from the right side. It's kind of
please.
random. You don't know where he's gonna come from. And then
This
if I
is so
double click,
nice.
then not like the closest pet will chase the ball if one of the pets throw a ball.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy.
And then they greet each
Oh,
other when they meet, sometimes.
oh my gosh. I've wanted this in VS for so long. For real. Like I tend to keep that extension on in my VS Code instances. So anytime I'm like demoing in VS Code and that's there, people ask me all the time, like, what is this amazing extension? I'm like, yeah, it's it's
Uh-huh.
pets. And somebody
Yes.
did ask me one time, like, does that exist in VS? Like, no, it's unfortunate. So oh my God, this is a momentous day. Like,
Yep.
this is bigger than the Copilot introduction as far as I'm concerned. This
Oh
is
yeah.
a very momentous occasion.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Well, that's an endorsement if there ever was
yeah.
one.
Thank you for making my day.
Yeah, this is nice. I've used it like
Yeah.
since I'm like for over a month, I guess. They're just always there. They're never in the way. They're never
No, we're just
I don't
chilling.
know. It's kind of just nice. They're walking around. There's a little thing going on, It's
Yeah,
yeah.
look. Oh, they made hearts with each
So
other.
you can, there's settings, of course, but you can rename. You can add multiple. You can have all sorts of. You can even have Clippy.
Clippy, yay.
Clippy is there because why not? What else do we have? So I like the fox, coon. I don't know.
There's a
Dog.
T-Rex. I love the derpy ones. Those are my favorite creatures. So like the axolotls and T-Rex and stuff.
T-Rex. What about a
That
wolf? Like you can get a white wolf.
sounds like a dire wolf.
Yeah, it's a dire wolf. Exactly. It's from Game of Thrones. They all kind of hang out together and they greet each other and stuff like that. So they don't get lonely either, if you have multiple.
Yeah, right. They have friends too.
The bigger
Cute.
your screen is, the wider it is, the more you can include, I guess. Like so
Have a whole
just
parade of them.
they will fall asleep. Like now the axolotl is taking a little nap here. Yep. And Clippy is getting tired. Sometimes they run, sometimes they walk, sometimes they sit.
It's
So
so cute. It's even better than VS Codes.
uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, that is lovely. Oh my goodness. Like that is one of the most popular extensions on the VS Code side for a reason. So
Yeah.
expect to get a lot of downloads for this one, at least for me.
That's another place of inspiration. I go look at like what are some of the top extensions for VS Code or for other editors out there to kind of get a sense for what people like. One thing is what they say, but what do they do? And
Right.
download counts is what they do, and so I can see which ones they actually prefer. And so that's a really strong source and signal for what's relevant. And so, all right, that's it. That's all I have. That was 10 extensions in what, half an hour or so.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm wondering, I'm curious, did you use the new extensibility model for writing a lot of those?
No, a lot of them they're using things that are not there yet. in the extensibility model. So whenever there's an extension that where I will use the new
Gotcha.
extensibility model. Yeah. And that's being updated to run on .NET 10 here pretty soon. So when you write extensions, they actually run in .NET 10 in a separate process.
Oh,
So that's really cool. Today they run in .NET 8, but soon they will run in .NET 10.
sick.
Yeah.
That is very exciting to hear.
Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, speaking of which, we're doing like a whole mini series about Visual Studio extensibility. That's its full name, or the new extensibility model. So there's a playlist that maybe we'll link in the description below if you're interested in learning how you can write your own extensions. So yeah, Matt's super impressive. You never fail to bring new ideas to the table and execute them super well. So like, I'm sure this won't be the last set of extensions you'll be writing, and I look forward to seeing even more.
I can't imagine that be the case. There's always something.
Yeah.
There's always an idea that needs
Always
to be
something.
expressed through an extension.
Exactly. Shoot.
Yeah.
Well, Mads, thanks so much for hopping on the show as always.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again, everyone.
Yeah,
go play with all those new extensions. I'm going to go play with my new pets and see you soon. So happy coding, y'all.